Welcome to another episode of VLGA Connect, and it is my pleasure to welcome to the program the Emergency Management Commissioner, Andrew Crisp. Hello and welcome.
Hi, Chris. Good to join you.
Thank you for agreeing to speak with us. I can only imagine what a busy time it is for you at the moment. Just give us a sense of what a typical day is like for you right now.
A typical day. That's a good question. I guess it's sort of a start around about 7 o'clock, and then I try and get away sort of 7 or 8 o'clock. But then invariably there's some other phone calls and bits and pieces that need to be done. So it's look, but I'm no different to a lot of people at the moment, and a lot of people, this is, as we know, it's a challenging time. I have spent some time, I guess, out on the street when I don't like using the term, but when the public housing towers were locked down. But I'm not really on the front line. So my thoughts are very much with health workers and police and ambulance officers and others that are out there, face to face confronting it. So I've got a role to play, as we all do. But my thoughts are definitely with them.
You're in the office, Andrew. It's not a role that you can typically work from home, I guess, is it?
No, you're right, and it's I've tried to have the odd day working from home, and it's funny. I've sort of discussed this with some other people that when I go to ring someone, I actually feel guilty, even though I want to know something or I want to discuss something with someone. Whereas, if I'm in the state control centre where I am now, it's just about popping around and having a chat with someone. Obviously, physically distancing with my mask on that I do have here. To make sure we do the right thing. But yes, working from home in terms of this just doesn't work.
So our audience, as you're aware, is primarily local government. I wonder if you have any reflections on the role of local government, particularly at this time, and how it intersects with your role as Emergency Management Commissioner.
Yeah, look, going back to my policing career, I've had a long, I'd like to think, very positive relationship with local government in the various areas that I've worked, and I've definitely taken that into this particular role. And I think what's important during emergencies and during this particular emergency is to not throw that term, the baby out with the bathwater. It's about sticking with what we know works in emergencies. And as we know, local government plays a critical role when it comes to emergencies, well practiced, well structured with municipal emergency management plans, some very, very experienced people when it comes to emergencies, albeit that might be fire, flood or other emergencies. But again, that's equally applicable in terms of what we're doing at the moment with COVID. So for me, it's very much about what more can we at a state level do to support local government because of the critical role that local government has been and will continue to play, I suggest, for some time yet in relation to COVID. So very, very keen on seeing how much more we can do around that.
I guess it's a challenge for a lot of people to understand who does what in these sorts of circumstances. You mentioned municipal emergency plans, etc., and the different roles that come into play. Does that matter, do you think? And is it an issue that perhaps lines of responsibility can get a bit blurred around these sorts of emergency situations?
They can. I guess that point I made about it's important to stick with what we know works, but at the same time, depending on the circumstances and the emergency, you might have to adapt. You might have to be flexible in the way that you actually do your business. And we did that during the fires, the recent fires, when given the scale and the complexity of what we were faced, particularly with isolated communities, that we had to adopt a very different approach, particularly with working with the ADF around that sort of relief, immediate recovery piece. So we do need to be flexible, but again, I think our state does the emergency management thing very, very well. Our arrangements do stand up in emergencies, and I spend a lot of time looking at the State Health Emergency Response Plan, because that's the plan for them in relation to emergencies. And we've had to sort of fine tune some of that, but it's we're still working to the same model. We still have a state controller. We still have a state coordination team, state control team, state emergency management team. So we're still working through those structures that we all know. And particularly at the moment when it comes to what we're seeing with regional outbreaks. So that's whether that's Colac or Castlemaine. So what we've had to do is DHHS as the control agency, so taking the lead, but we've come in to support them with our our traditional incident management teams, our emergency management structure, but local government very, very much part of that. So early days, we flagged, for the regional emergency coordination committees, you need to be ready.
Anything about the model you'd change if you were designing it from scratch, do you think, to make it work more effectively?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe there'll be an inquiry or two coming out of this. But no, in the main, it's worked. But that's not to say that we can't look at how we change things. Even at the moment, we've had some discussion about the state control team and the state controller. And we're moving to a model now. We're actually going to escalate the representation on the state control team to involve secretaries of all the departments. So we've never done that previously. It normally sits with a sort of, fairly senior person, a functional lead. But given the way that this is, obviously impacting on all of the public service and therefore the community, so we've been a little bit more flexible in relation to our existing arrangements, but looking at how we better involve secretaries in the decision-making process.
Andrew, we've seen a lot of mayors around the state in the media in recent weeks presenting local perspectives on issues, cross-border issues, lockdown issues, outbreak issues, etc. What's your take on how the elected reps are performing at this time?
I think they always do a great job. Look, I always say anyone that puts up their hand to take on a local government, a council role, and then to become a mayor, I say good on you. I've never done it, but I've had sort of, I guess, a lot of interaction with those that have taken on those roles, and as you know, it's not easy. So I guess my starting point when I talk to the mayors or the elected officials is as I do within our own sector. It's about look after yourselves, because you are taking on a lot of responsibility. You know that when you sign up for the job, but it's not until you get thrown into the middle of an emergency that you will realise the impact that it has on you. And again, I've seen that in fires over the last couple of years, and some mayors where you can tell that they are not struggling. They're struggling. Yeah, the psychological and the physical impact all the work they were doing was having on them and their families. And I take my hat off to them, but it is that piece about you collectively, if you are one of those elected officials looking at this, you've got to look after yourself, and it's about then what support local government and others. And I've offered myself previously in relation to fires, what more can we do to support you when you take on those roles? Because I guess you sign up for it, but you don't necessarily sign up for what we're going through at the moment.
I guess my sense is that they've been striking the right tone and not being overly reactionary, but being really supportive of processes that are in place. So I guess I was really looking for you to sort of support that view that I've sensed.
That bit is really, really important, and that's what I've noticed also, because we, love them or hate them, the media will take a particular position in relation to a particular issue. But again, that's what we're all about, is keeping everyone calm. And that's what I've seen mayors do. Yes, it's a challenging time, but in times of crisis, and I say the same thing in the State Control Centre, my expectation is that's when I actually see people at their calmest. Because otherwise, if our leaders are running around with chooks like their head chopped off, then it's not sending much of a message to the rest of our community.
As far as councils are concerned and their part that they're playing, is there anything in particular you'd like to see them do more of or keep doing in terms of being a support to your work?
Yeah, I think that the keep doing is very much, and this is the feedback I'm getting, is actually we've got those plans, but a plan is pretty useless unless you revisit it and you exercise it. I'm not suggesting there's probably the opportunity to exercise now, but you can still get people around a table, and you might be a regional area that's not been impacted at this point in time, and go, all right, well, let's take the plan out. Let's go through it. What are we learning from other local government areas where they have been impacted by regional outbreaks or metro outbreaks? So I think the thing is just that constant awareness and testing ourselves about our preparedness. What we're definitely seeing through this particular emergency, we're not losing infrastructure as we would in a fire or a flood, but what we're losing is our workforce. And, whether that's in relation to people that, unfortunately become COVID positive, or where people don't necessarily want to work in a setting where there are positive COVID cases, and I'm not making a judgment on that whatsoever. You know, I can quite well understand the decisions that some people are making. So it's about, I guess, going back to that piece about the elected officials, what more can we do to support, calm down our workforce, our volunteer organisations that we work with, that we rely so heavily on in terms of our emergency management arrangements. So just providing comfort and confidence, I think is a key piece that I'd like local government to keep doing.
You've mentioned fires and floods a few times. Some councils, of course, have been through pretty much sort of 3 emergencies hard on the heels of each other. What do you say to those communities that must be starting to feel really like it's just the constant state of life these days to be in emergency mode?
Yeah, look, I feel for them. I really do. You know, even after the fires 2 years ago, let's say with the Bunyip fire, and you know, our thinking was about for those communities with the lead into what we thought could have been as it turned out to be, you know, a fairly it was a bad fire season for us. And then, as you said, on top of that now, with COVID, like everyone was ready to rush back to regional Victoria and spend money and have holidays and do all those sorts of things. And just the economic and the psychological impact on those communities is intense. I do also have a role around bushfire recovery, and I'm trying to participate as best as I can in community recovery committees, albeit they're being done similar to this format at the moment. At the moment, all I can do is, you know, is just try and be there and try and listen. But again, as you've said, Chris, it's about what's next. And we know at the moment we stood up in the State Control Centre now at a low tier for floods. So you know, we saw the landslide on the Great Alpine Road. I think that was 2 days ago. So on the back of the fires itself. So we know that there's every chance we'll have floods. We're going to have a summer. It's going to be hot, and we'll have fires. So, you know, we're very focused also on our preparedness in relation to those emergencies as well, as no doubt local government needs to be. So I wish there was, you know, a magic wand and I could make it all go away or make it better, but we just got to keep working our way through this. And you know, again, it comes back to, I guess, that people piece is about, you know, just staying calm. You know, what are our priorities? And I keep saying in here, you know, it's almost, you know, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, one priority at a time. Because if we don't do this, if we don't stand up, then who is going to do it? And it's the same in local government. And I'm sure that's exactly how, whether they're paid employees of local government or the elected officials are feeling, you know, that sense of responsibility to the local community.
And that resilience that we talk a lot about, such an important skill to have. One last question before I let you go, Andrew. You talk about the elected reps, you know, being really mindful of getting the right balance and taking time for themselves. What does the Emergency Management Commissioner do to make time to keep everything in the right balance?
Yeah, good question. I have some really good people that I work with in here, so they make sure I eat every day. That's a start.
That's a good thing.
But you know, I try and get out for a walk. I did that during the fires out of the State Control Centre. Just walking around the block, you know, once or twice a day just helps. It doesn't take long. I do enjoy my exercise. Obviously, gyms are closed, so I got to the point of running up and down the stairs in the building, and sort of hurt my back a little bit a few weeks ago. But I'm right now, so I'm going to be back into running a few stairs. So yeah, you're right. You've got to do something. You've got to do something.
Well, that image of you running the stairs is going to stay with me, and it's a good one to leave it on, I think. Andrew, really appreciate your time. I'll let you get back to it, but thank you so much for joining us on VLGA Connect.
Thank you so much, Chris. Take care.